Anybody else has any questions?
So Derek and I just want to correct some of your statements on Black River because they were not all correct. Derek was on the council in 2018 and I was on the Black River Field Subcommittee. There was too much mingling of your minutes in there. To be clear, the Black River Field Subcommittee was put together by the council to analyze the highest and best use of Black River Field. We were not a decision-making body. Anything that we determined or we thought was the highest and best use was then turned over to the council for consideration. So for you to say that the council was considering lights and turf is completely false. And in fact, if you look at your presentation from 2018, which you put up on the screen, you'll see there's 5 fields there. That's not changed. And your comments about the well, as I've said numerous times at the council meetings, the original plan was for the one well. There was a test done post-submittal to the DEP, at which point the well yield was not what we had on record for brine drilling. So for you to say that we were talking well and not having well, that is not correct. So that's the first thing I want to say. No one spent a lot of time on it. So there's a difference there. To be crystal clear, on any submission to the DEP were lights and artificial turf ever considered. They've been discussed. They were discussed in the subcommittee. They've been discussed amongst the council, but nothing has been submitted. For you to say that the council is considering turf and lights above what's already been made public, a funding effort by the private sports entities or public, or the Manchester Metal Lacrosse, soccer, or those guys, the council has never once considered artificial turf and lights. And if they were, it would be in an open forum. And as you said, we have to go back to DEP. So I think you sort of intimating that we were planning artificial turf lights all along is not fair.
The documents prove it. In the case of Mr. Curley's draft, he didn't editorialize at all.
Please, again, we got to observe the rules.
Yeah, I'm not arguing. The minutes that Councilman Curley put up are commingling the Black River Field Subcommittee, whose job was to put together a highest and best use of those fields, and then report it to the council and let the council debate. So unfortunately, it's confusing because he goes from the council minutes to the Black River Field minutes. The Black River Field Subcommittee is not a decision-making body. It never was, never will be. So whatever the highest, like the planning board is doing with Glenmore, the Black River Field Subcommittee is going to say what is the best use of these fields, and to be clear, we've not met months. That recommendation will be sent up to the council, at which point the council will debate. So the subcommittee is an advisory committee to the council. It has no decision-making authority. None.
And Tim, I will address that because if you took it that way, maybe I didn't read it clearly.
Sure.
He is correct. The council, and that's the problem.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm actually Councilman Tim Drag.
Yes, I'm sorry. Stand up, Tim.
Sorry.
And we have Councilman Derek Moore.
And I was next to you before Councilman Derek Moore. So Derek was a councilman when this Black River was being considered, and I was on the subcommittee. So Brian is reporting almost in a third-person role, reviewing sort of minutes, but I think Derek will agree with me. Everything I said is factual.
So let me address it.
Yes.
So if the impression was given that the council approved this, I want to dispel it. In fact, what I was trying to illustrate, that's part of the problem. This issue never was voted on by the council, nothing. And with the improvements for Black River, the council did not vote on anything until March of this year when Tim and I were council. What had been developed were the plans in the Black River. Now, what I was trying to highlight is the essential problem. Wasn't that the subcommittee was working out the details? Okay, fine. Why then did we submit a plan to the DEP in June? Any plan to the DEP in June, if it hadn't been decided what the heck the plan was yet. That's number one. Number two, that I still am trying to get an answer to, is who authorized submission in June? The council did not vote on that submission. Council did not approve the content of that submission. There's nothing that I found that the council even reviewed that submission in June 5th, 2018. So Tim's point is well taken, but it illustrates the problem. The Black River Subcommittee meeting, they were doing what they were charged to do. Agree or disagree with turf and lights, that's what they were examining. My problem is, this never made it up to the council. I don't know why, but it didn't.
Hold on.
And I'm not finished. And so the June 2018 submission, 5 grass field, no wells, no septic. Why did it have to get submitted in June? Why did it have to say 5 grass fields?
Yes, the councilman is right here.
I will. You can answer in a second. So what's the story? Why did we rush it? Why were we in a hurry to submit a plan that didn't fit? And why didn't we intend to correct it over the following 10 months once we knew what the plan was? We knew what the plan was in October. Why didn't we go back to the DEP after October of 2018 and submit a revised amended plan and say, you know what, it's not 5 grass fields, it's this? Why did it take me raising the issue, forcing it into closed session when we're on the verge of issuing bonds to pay for this, to bring this thing to a head and force us to go back to the DEP? That's what happened. You can argue about why, you can argue about the reasons, but that's what
Brian,
happened.
I'm not going to argue with you. Was exemption 6 ever ungranted? Or was exemption 6 granted and reconfirmed several times up until even several days ago?
I'm so sorry.
Was exemption 6 ever not in place from the first submittal? Did the DEP ever say we're rescinding exemption 6, or did they just simply reconfirm through future submittals that we were still eligible for exemption 6? I think what you're inferring is that, you know, and you've used the term misleading before, that obviously the plans evolve, we resubmit plans. But to be clear, all
That's
along,
not what happened.
but that is what happened.
No, it isn't.
And with all due respect,
The plans didn't change. The plans only changed because I forced the issue. We went back and examined it. There was an analysis done by the township attorney that I know you're aware of, and the recommendation was we need to go back to
Was
the
exemption
DEP.
6 ever
There was
rescinded?
no-
It's a simple question. Was exemption 6 ever rescinded through the entire process?
Of course not. It was obtained by fault the first time around.
But that is a horrible opinion that you have. You just stated a horrible, offensive opinion.
I disagree, because some of the things that you were investigating and recommending, I could see the DEP having an issue with.
Right.
Why they didn't have an issue with some of it, I don't quite understand, okay? So that's an issue with DEP. But I kind of agree. I mean, things, first off, what was with all the closed sessions? Why could we not know
I'm sorry,
what was being discussed?
what closed session? What closed session?
Every meeting was a closed session.
None of the
on
Blackbird
discussion.
Field subcommittees were in the closed session. And the closed sessions that you see, the closed sessions that you see in those minutes, which Derek can speak to, we're discussing the purchase of Blackbird Field, which is a contract discussion, which clearly goes into closed session.
There was more.
No, I will disagree with you.
Okay, respectfully, and we're not going to get too far.
Right, so anyway, Brian is.
Okay, so I just want to point one thing out. This is page 2 of the recent approval reaffirmation.
Yeah.
This is the only one since June of 2018, or excuse me, September of 2018. If you look right here, and this was in the original letter, if the division subsequently determines the information submitted to obtain this decision is inaccurate, the exemption shall be void.
Did they ever come to that conclusion?
No, because we went to them first.
Anyway, Derek, why don't you talk about 2018?
I think, I'm a retired councilman, I retired this year, A couple of things that I will address. One is, from day one, we stated that we would buy the fields and we would bring the fields up to playable condition, and then any other work would be done by the team. We never committed any more money to it. We found out after about a year and a half, 2 years, we found out that we could get open space funds. We hired a group to get them open space funds, and that's why it wasn't done in the beginning. That's why it was done after 2 years. Because that's
Say
what we
that
found.
again?
Huh?
Say that again.
The money that we're applying for from the open space funds, we found out about it after about a year and a half. We didn't think that we were entitled to it. But we felt right.
And to be clear, okay, contrary to Brian's assertion, the open space does not offer and this is, just so you know, our consultant is former Mayor Ben Spinelli, okay? And Ben has helped us through this process immensely. Ben will tell you that the Open Space Committee never gives 100%. The only way the Open Space Committee would give 100% is if a town does not have an open space fund, which we do. When the town has an open space fund, 50% is what the open space is. So please don't think that we were not taking your tax dollars to heart. This was the most amount of money, according to our consultants, including former Mayor Ben Spinelli, that we were going to be eligible for.
I did hear Brian say that we were
He did
going to
say
get
that.
100%, but no, I did not hear that. I have a question. How did we go from 4 million to 9 point what million dollars in this project?
You mean 400,000 to 2.4 million?
Yeah, right. How did we go from that to that?
The 2.4 million is the only one I can really speak to how it was arrived at. The township engineer prepared detailed analysis, and he came to the town council in March. Derek was still on the council at that time. Tim was as well. He presented those figures to us with various options for lighting, seating, siding, various options. I think it was distilled down to 6 various options. After examining all of them and agreement that we needed to do something, that the fields were playable, but they could do better and we could do better, that we wanted to make the grass fields better, and the cost that we were given by the engineer.
And did those costs?
Where the prior cost came from, where the engineer thought it was 400, then it was 900, I can't speak.
And did those costs go out for RFP?
No.
Because there were a lot of,
No,
you know, Tim's got this connection and so-and-so's got that connection.
So the
and that's a little-
$2.4 million bond, which is voted on unanimously by all 5 of us, is a worst case scenario. We do not anticipate the fields costing $2.4 million. But when
the work is ready to do, will that be going out for RFP? Or
we have to
after
bid.
it's
Oh,
already made?
no.
Yeah.
We have to put this out to public bid. This isn't, this sort of assumption that we're in the back sort of stirring a pot is completely false. It's a public bidding. We will go out to bid. It will be discussed. We'll release the bid. The bids will be opened and we'll discuss. There has been no contractor selected, nothing.
One thing I want to add, how we, or who authorized and why it was 5 grass fields, I have tried to get answers on that. I have been blocked from speaking to the engineer directly.
Well, the 5 fields, Brian, as you know, we're 2, sir, with due respect, we're 450 foot by 450 foot pads. We were in on those discussions, and that equates to 4 fields. And then we made a decision as a council to submit with an additional grass field in front and
I'm
give the
talking
field.
about the June application, as you well know. I wanted to sit down with the business administrator and John Hanson, the engineer, to go over some of the billings on this and find out what happened with that June 2018 application. The mayor would not permit me to do that. The council voted not to allow me to do that.
Did you approach Derek or the mayor as to why those were done in 18 and they could give you an answer?
I have. I got to speak to the engineer.
Okay. You could
Derek
ask Derek.
Mafia or Derek?
No, you could have asked Derek Moore, the mayor, or anyone else.
I asked at the council meeting, nobody wanted an answer. I was
I'm lost here.
In other words, the June
I mean, this is kind of
application,
just degrading
if
into.
you're lost, you're probably not.
Mr. Drake's defending himself.
The
No,
June.
I disagree on defending myself.
No, that was an unnecessary comment, please. The June 2018 submission with the 5 grass fields and the well field lights. I'm trying to figure out why it was submitted, who authorized it, who told the engineer to submit it there. Again, there's no reflection of it being discussed by the council. It was not approved by the council formally. I've tried to find out and sit down with the engineer how this happened and what did you do to do this. The mayor would not allow me to do that. When I pushed on the subject at a council meeting, there was a vote taken that I should not be able to do that. I'm just pointing that out. Rob, you had your hand up.
Yeah, so to kind of clarify, when you had your discussion for the revision of the DEP submission, didn't that second submission initially, before it was actually submitted, when you were in discussions, have that third plot towards the road as turf and lights, and they asked you to remove them?
When we went to the meeting on June 20th, that was the site plan that we took with us and that was presented and discussed. The DEP, Ms. Duro, who was the assistant director that we met with, as well as some other people at the DEP. It was myself, Administrator Collins, Attorney Saminsky, the mayor, and Mr. Hanson. We met with her, we went through it. After she heard all of the project and all of what was going on, she said that the turf field portion, she was not going to allow that to be submitted. We needed to resubmit the grass fields and what we had already passed, which was phase 2A, in theory 2B, because it's the same thing pretty much. We had to resubmit a new plan with that. That was the instruction that we were given. That was in June. We came back, subsequent meetings at Town Council, we discussed that we would submit, but for various reasons, we were going to change that phase 3 portion to a grass field, no lights.
Did she explain why she wanted you to remove that turf and lights?
As I recall, and it was a long meeting, she was uncomfortable, I think, with the fact that it had not been approved, and that there were issues with what would be done with money, both to fund the construction as well as any revenue that might come out of it. I'm not saying that's all that she said, but that's those particular points.
Question. Isn't it true that just a few months ago, because we've been to many of these town council meetings, it came to light that the minutes don't have to include everything that's said at the town council meetings. You have to state, I wish this to be recorded in the minutes. How many times we were there, because we were there and we heard what was going on, you did indeed discuss the lights and the turf. And who decides what's included in the minutes and what's not? Who gets to decide what years? Because we were there.
Was it
Mr. Drag.
talking this year,
We've been there
last
for a
year?
year, listening to you guys discuss
Are we
the turf
talking,
and lights.
Tim, are you talking this year?
I'm talking in the past, this was just this past June maybe,
Okay.
that it came to light that if you want things to be included in the minutes, that the town council is not obliged to have every single word that is stated in those minutes. Who makes the decision what is
The
included?
purpose of minutes is a summary.
Yes.
The recordings of the meetings are posted online with the minutes. So I have had issues at various times, as have other council members, with what the minutes reflect, because the process is the clerk or the assistant clerk listens to the meeting and takes notes, condenses those notes into a summary. That summary becomes the minutes. So for example, at a recent meeting, I made a very long statement about, I think it was the rec director issue. That was summarized in about 3 sentences. I simply asked to have the minutes reflect that the full content of my statement was in the recording. So the minutes, the purpose of minutes, if you put every word that's said in a minute, the thing's going to be 400 pages. Nobody's going to read it.
But I guess what I am saying, Mr. Dragon, no, we were there. You have discussed turf and lights for the past year. We've been there.
100% we've discussed.
In the, well, you just said you
And
didn't discuss it at the town council meeting.
no,
Am I wrong?
no,
Am I wrong?
no, you are.
Okay.
Allow me to be clear. We have discussed turf and lights under the guise of the funds would need to be 100% raised by the sports team.
But you did discuss it.
Allow me to finish.
Go ahead.
If the sports teams were able to raise those funds, they would then come before the council. The council would debate and either vote them up or down, and at which point they would have to go back to the DEP for approval.
But didn't you just state, didn't you just
So,
state to
Kim,
all of us
I
that
think
you
what
did
Kim,
not?
what I understand you to be referring to, and there may be just a crossing, in 2018, when all this was going on with the applications, at council level, there was no discussion of turf and lights. The discussion of turf and lights at council level, at least according to the minutes, I don't know, Derek, we had
There's never been a discussion.
But wait, didn't they discuss it when we were here in
From
2018?
the council, whatever.
No, I disagree. I'm
Sorry.
sorry.
So there's your answer, Kim. What we're talking about is.
You have never heard the council say they will pay for turf and light.
Oh, no, that's not what I asked him. He said they never talked about it.
No, we talked about it.
He said they never talked about it, and yes, indeed, the council back in, when we start. September of 2018, we heard about these lights. Right. And that was there, you talked about it, and all through 2019, you that you may not have voted on it, but you absolutely talked
So
about.
that was a
lights.
subcommittee
You
meeting?
talked about it, you just said you did.
I'm sorry, that was a subcommittee meeting which I.
No, I was there, I'm not your substitute.
I wasn't on the council in 2018.
Yeah, but Tim.
Yes, but they did
He's
talk
talking
about
about the
it.
fall of 2018, when you presented
And then when you
the
presented-
proposal, there was discussion.
The
It was
council
a
has
discussion
talked
of
about it.
highest and best use, which I made, which would include highest and best turf and lights, but the council didn't debate that fact.
No, but they talked about it. You talked about it, you said you didn't, and you did. You, the council, did not just you,
Yeah.
but it did get discussed.
Yeah, and I have to say, that I'm a
At
little
great length.
disturbed by some of these meeting minutes, because I've spent a lot of time taking meeting minutes, and I see a lot of grayness about what was discussed, but no discussion, no written record as to what was determined to be done. So what you just said about, making the sports teams have to come before the council, that's nowhere in these.
And I've said
Why
that,
not?
and I've said on the record, to be clear, the minutes are kept by the administrator, the following meeting, they're voted on by the council. And for the most part, right, Brian, we may make some changes, but we are the gatekeepers of approving those minutes, and we've approved them.
Yeah,
And they are
not written
filed,
down.
and they are filed along with the recording of the meeting.
Right, the recording is available.
With all due respect, sir, I barely have enough time to listen to the things I need to. I don't have time if I can't make it to a meeting to listen to that. The meeting minutes should
I believe it's
more
online.
accurately represent what was discussed, and any comments or decisions that were made in these meeting minutes don't do that well. And I'm happy to share that with the administrator, maybe the
Yeah, I
administrator
mean,
needs
we're always good, we
some
love feedback, so if you think,
guidance
if there's a better way for us to do minutes, we'd love to hear.
Visually record them, and live stream. Yeah, they think that they don't visually.
Listen,
This stream,
I was at the meeting with the $2.4 million approved. And I was the reason I was there, I was very concerned with what was going on. I found out. I left the meeting with the impression, the direct impression from the councilman and the mayor, that there was no plans, no discussion, in fact, opposition to lights and or turf field, and that they would not be, and apparently it hasn't been, approved, and that in fact they were against it. Now, if your positions are still that you're against lights in a turf field, I'm happy with that. But if not, I'd like to know. We have an election coming up next week, and I see the number one name on that subcommittee is the mayor. Well, what's her position?
You know, that's a really good question, and
Yes,
to
sir.
add on to that question, sir, if you don't mind, if the council is so against it, why are we spending time and money investigating and determining what the costs and the impact would be?
Well, that's a good point, because one of the things I was confused earlier with what you were saying. But one of my reactions coming out there is, why is Mr. Hanson still employed by this town?
I'm trying to get answers on it myself.
False.
Good point.
Yes, let me just answer the gentleman's question. So the question about what's the mayor's position, I don't think you have to hold to thought. I'm not gonna represent what her position is, but I believe she has made statements in the past about it. You can probably find those. As far as where do things stand on it right now, I have the same concern. We have not defined how much artificial curtain lights will cost. We haven't determined who's raising the money. We haven't determined how much are they gonna have to raise. By my estimation, if the lights are $650,000, the field's $1.5 million, you're up to $2.1, $2.2 million pretty quick. Then there's other costs, engineering costs. By my estimation, it's probably closer to $2.5 to $3 million to put an artificial turf stadium in place. Can these public sports teams even raise it? We don't know. We haven't asked them. Will they raise it? We don't know. We haven't asked them. By when will they raise it? We don't know. We haven't asked them.
Well, then why don't we just let them go ahead and do whatever the hell they want to do? And if they come up with the money, then they can come to the council.
And that's
But otherwise, like this young lady said here, why are we wasting our
Sir,
time?
that's exactly what we're doing, sir.
No.
Sir, that's literally exactly what we're doing, and we're not spending.
Hold on, I just want to get this next.
We are not spending any.
Those subcommittee, reports that
The subcommittee didn't spend it, we don't have the ability to spend money. we were asking questions as to the cost of things, so that when we made a report to the council for them to consider the issue, we would give them.
Is it still going on?
The subcommittee has not been on, sir.
The mayor set up the committees from people who are not council to help us determine what it is we're doing.
Oh, no, wait a minute, there are council people on that subcommittee, starting with the mayor.
I was on
With Mr.
If
Drag.
you have a committee, you have to have somebody from the council. For it to be.
I just say you shouldn't be wasting your time.
Okay,
Because
sir,
regardless of what the costs are, sir, they're way exceeding what I have in mind that our town ought to be putting the bill
Well,
for.
the town,
I will go on record.
Never.
I will go on record to council. I will not fund artificial turf and lights at Black River Fields.
My final question on that, I saw somewhere in there, we get funding from some sources.
We have a question,
Is
sir.
now open to use by anybody in the state?
Sir, all of our parks are open to use.
Tim, can I suggest you guys take up this discussion after
If
there's
you
other
don't have any
questions?
question,
Yes, sir.
It wasn't a question, more of a suggestion. So I'm Chris O'Keefe, I'm a new moved resident of Chester Township. Actually, I've already reached out to Mr. Curley, he has agreed to have coffee at some point. Full disclosure, I'm also married to one of the mayor's daughters, so just, full disclosure. So we're moving back into town, we're excited to be here. That said, Mr. Curley's been very transparent, he offered to go meet up with me at some point, and also the mayor's hosting office hours every day this week and last week, so I would just go talk to these people. I mean, these are great questions, I'm hearing great questions from everybody. I'm glad to see that the town's engaged, it seems awesome. And the good thing is, look, he's agreed to have coffee with me, the mayor's sitting at town hall having office hours, so I'm excited by that, but I would just say, maybe we could rest our back on tonight, and just, why don't just everyone pile over to town hall tomorrow and, have coffee?
Carrie, you have another question? Who's got another question?
The fields right now, phase two is 2.4.
I'm sorry, Mayor.
Yellen.
In the fields right now, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
There's already $2.4 million for phase two.
That's not correct. I apologize. It's 2.4 million. It's a bond. We don't know the price.
Well, right now,
Well, we do know,
they're
hold on, let me
saying.
clarify that. It's 1.2 million for what we approved with the hard cost and the soft cost for phase 2A. Phase 2A, the big differential is soft. If we do phase 2B with seed, it will probably be a little lower by the tune of $100 to $150 grand. So what we did was we improved up to 2.4 million, figuring there's going to be cost changes, there's going to be overruns, there's going to be things that are developing. If you look at the actual costs, if you just go by what the engineer estimated, now we did sod on 2A, seed on 2B, you're looking in the neighborhood of 2.1.
So my question is, then now we're talking about field three, which was never evaluated into the cost, and because it was supposed to be an artificial turf field. How much is that field going to cost us on top of the phase two fields?
We have not discussed phase 3 right now, stands as grass.
So.
But we haven't approved that yet either. Technically, we haven't approved 2B technically.
Could that then, the assumption is that field is now another, going with what the cost for phase two, or those two fields, approximately another $1 million.
It's hard to say. That is a single field that's about half the size of 2A and 2B. So it's hard to say. I think if you used an estimate, I don't know. It's hard to say. I don't know what
So there still is another additional cost out
there will be another additional cost for phase
We
3
don't know.
if we do anything with phase 3.
Then the other question is recordings. We talk about recordings being posted and stuff. I remember back maybe in August, I went back to look for recordings, and at the end of May, June, they're not posted. Can we get those posted? Like, I don't know why we can't get recordings posted as soon as they're.
I'm sorry, can you get them posted as soon as they're there?
Right, as soon as, yeah, why are they not posted in several months?
As far as I know, the written minutes, we had an issue.
Written minutes, yes,
The written
but-
minutes are getting posted right away. If the
Right.
recordings are not getting posted with the written minutes, I don't know why there would be any disparity in timing that way. Because the written minutes come from the recordings. So if there is a difference, I will ask Ms. Collins to explain.
Okay, thank you.
Whenever you're Jane, I'll come back. Go ahead, yeah, go ahead.
Based on a Governor Corzine executive order and some subsequent, I think, Highlands Council's resolutions, you may find that exemption determination is actually totally downstream to the municipalities, and that Dory Fox probably has the authority to grant you exemption number 6.
No, she
That'll cost you a whole lot less money.
Trust me, we've been over this ground about as thoroughly as
It
you
was,
can imagine over the
it was
last year.
all delegated, exemption determination was delegated down to the municipalities. You shouldn't need the DEP application or John Hanson on Hilo.
Thanks. You feel good? Jay?
Just to clarify for everybody, you mentioned about well testing and so forth. There were
Yeah, you need to speak up.
Yell at me.
I can't yell. Regarding the well.
You can stand up.
Okay, regarding the well situation that Brian mentioned in his presentation, the well testing of residential wells bordering the fields. You should be aware that there were 2 wells that were tested out of, I think there were
3, I think, the pool well and 2
Well,
wells.
I'm
that
talking
you-
about residential wells. There were
Yeah.
2 residential wells that were tested. One of them was in a home that's a rented home where there's no one home all day long. First of all, they were testing in February, not in the high, it's kind of like the dry season in August, they were testing in February. One was a home where it was very warm all day, and one was, it's over there, I'm hoping we would get there, and,
As well as in the wetland.
yeah,
The second well that was tested is in an artesian well that's adjacent to a wetland area, and it really does not tell you, it doesn't give you significant data. I work for an engineering company, and I brought this to our hydrogeologist, as they're aware of. There's discrepancy between what the hydrogeologist at my work tells me, what we should be looking at to protect our wells on the surrounding neighborhoods, and what the township's council hired for their hydrogeologist. So there's a discrepancy between the 2 hydrogeologists indicating what the results really showed there. Our hydrogeologist said it was a very basic well test, and that those 2 wells weren't even worth looking at, because the ones in the wetland is just absolutely nothing, so.
and this was when they were only putting in 1 well.
And isn't it true that the industry standard is 72 hours during a dry period? And they did a 7-hour test during winter. So our aquifers will be tapped with 1 well, 3 wells in a dry period.
There's more work to be done on the wells, that's for sure.
And Mayor Gasdell said she was not going to reimburse her, but I do believe, I heard somewhere, that actually, the DEP summer loan says that if our wells were dry, because of what the township is doing, the township of Chester has to drill us a new well on the taxpayer's dollar. So, there you go.
Oh, okay. Why don't you, and then-
I just wasn't an expert I haven't taken any sides, I wasn't a disclaimer. But I do know for a fact that if you want to approach the mayor, she is very approachable.
Could you stand up? I'm sorry, I can't hear you at all.
So I haven't chosen any sides. I'm just here to listen and get the facts and listen to each side. I do know that if you approach the mayor, she is very open to answering your questions. She will email you. She's done it for me. And if you have a question regarding any lawsuits or anything, she will email you information, and you can make your own minds up. But she is approachable, and I just want to know that.
Why do you have to follow up?
let me just get the lady behind her, I promised her she would do this.
Sorry, I just want to switch gears. It's my understanding that back in the late 80s, there was well and septic testing on the Glen Laura property, when there was proposed expansion back before the township owned the property. It's my understanding that certain citizens were able to get access from an attorney they hired to those well and septic documents. I want to know if I can get them through the township willingly, or if I need to submit a full request.
See me afterwards, I can tell you that.
My second question on that is, it's also my understanding that the planning board met with the Highlands Council this summer, and I want to know if those minutes have been, They were requested at the September 17th Township Council meeting. I don't know if they've been posted yet, it's my understanding. The planning board met with personnel from the Highlands Council to discuss potentially relaxing the current environmental protections. And I believe those meeting minutes, that information was requested at the September 17th Township meeting this year. And they were requested by a neighbor of mine, and I'd like to know if those, I guess Mayor Aswell said that they would be forthcoming, but we don't know, and we can't find them online yet.
Let's talk after, this one.
Just if you haven't known me.
No, I'm sure.
Councilman?
Gentlemen,
Chris, I have a quick question about, I'm a Psycho sports dad, and I haven't seen none of you on any of the fields as much as I frequent the fields.
I'm sorry,
No, I was gonna say, I don't see any of you on the fields as much as, I'm on the sports fields in the
Should
greater
have been there
area.
20 years ago. when I was-
Okay, but anyway, so I'm not pushing in any particular direction, but I'm just wondering if there's been a precise analysis of the demand at different times of the day too, from the lacrosse teams, the Westmore soccer, because I know there's some peak times, certainly Black River.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna say Black River on the weekends is, Westmore's is maxing that out, but I mean, we've got Ironia, we've got Ralston Fields, we have Westfield, we have a beautiful turf field in Mendham that I utilize with my boys multiple times during the weekend with no conflicts. I'm just wondering, if you went out to Westmore Soccer, which we used to be part of, and said, you want a lit field or whatever, of course they can say yes, and there's other people that said they ponied up the dough yet. But I just think we've got so many resources right now that I'm just wondering, how again precisely we've looked at a calendar and said that we need X amount of additional resources.
That is
and we're abandoning these other fields. I would love, in some ways, on the 5 grass fields, premier type soccer fields, but do we need that? I'm not really sure.
Well, I think that's where we've about drawn the line right now, because the utilization rate is something that's being debated. Right now, it's indicated that the fields are used about 17% of the time. In looking at all this on the grass fields, my thought, and as well as I think other council members at the time, was, okay, let's fix the grass fields, let's make the grass fields top plate, and that's where we're at. It's got an expensive price tag to do that, but that's where we're at.
Yeah, and this I see, because we're talking about skating the parking in Black River. I mean, are we abandoning the other fields too? Because you're saying we're at 70% utilization.
17.
17%.
Oh, okay, sorry.
17%.
Yeah, okay. But anyway, if you just went all in on Black River, I mean, I don't know if that would be the best approach, really. I mean,
Well, we have Chubb, we have Black River.
well, that's what I'm saying.
all the other things.
Or even Ralston too. So I mean, you want 1,000 more people coming into that one area during the weekend. It might not be the best part.
Actually, that's my question. With all the extra anticipated use at those fields, has an analysis been done on traffic? Because there are no easy bypasses on North Road. Or even if you go down South Road, it's 4.5 miles to go around South Road, or going down to Old Mill. If there's all that traffic, if they have increased usage at those fields, it's gonna bring increased traffic in that area, and there's no place for anybody to go. So I wonder, does the township have a plan to do a traffic analysis, or maybe the county, for this increased usage?
There is no plan at present that had been looked at. I think it's part of the original analysis. That's why when you turn in there now, I agree it's confusing that you gotta turn right, and that coming at you is only one way. I've heard anecdotally that people are not paying attention and they're going straight in their
Not just
oncoming
even in the
traffic.
park, just walking.
And then coming out on Route 24, the problem is, it's a state road. It's a secret. So it's the county we've been to try and get them to approve some things. I think they have been less than cooperative, from what I understand. I'm giving us any relief to open that up. It can be reapproached later, I'm sure. But right now, there's nothing on the line.
Councilman?
Yes.
I just want to go over one point on the fields. And full disclosure, my husband and I do not have children. We support our tax dollars going to safe fields for our children to play on. But one of the reasons we came to Chester, our dream of saving for, was its silence, beauty, natural preservation. When I heard about, I've only been to one council meeting, my first 7 years here, apolitical guy, not involved. When I heard about 90-foot lights, when we don't have street lights, it freaked me out. So I looked at the legislature in 2009, can't be seen from the street, can't cause glare, and I'm hearing all this talk about fields and lights as if, are you telling me that legislation will be overturned or rewritten, or has it already been done and I just don't know?
The state legislation, as far as I know, it's still in the books. Our ordinance still limits it, I think, to 25 feet maximum. So, but right now there's no proposal for lights, so nobody's really looking at it.
Right, I understand that, but there sure is a lot of talk about it.
Well, there's talk about it only in the sense of leaving this open down the road.
Well, with all due respect, people should be concerned about it. I said this to the folks in Liberty Lane. If I was in Liberty Lane, I'd be concerned too. And that's your right. You all have the same say in this, right? We want to hear from you.
Hopefully, yeah.
Contrary to what some people may say, no. But I want to say, so what I'm saying is, if you use Brian's analogy of the pitchforks and torches, if we ever get to the point where we have an open discussion on artificial turf and lights, which we're not having, I expect you to light those torches and come out with those pitchforks. But at this point, it goes back to the North end. You're getting worked up over something that does not exist.
But, and no disrespect, Councilman, you say you will not fund one of our taxpayer dollars for lights or
I
turf.
do not support artificial turf and lights using taxpayer.
I appreciate that. But on the converse, if the New York Red Bulls say we want this as our practice field, we'll pay for everything, you will support that.
Well, no, don't put me there because I'm not. No. I'm not supporting the Jets coming here and putting in a turf field. I would support local Chester area teams
If they can afford it,
if they
come out
can
of the
afford
funds
it.
themselves.
Correct.
Now, let's back up a second, because that question is a loaded question in that this is a public facility. The idea of a private entity coming in and donating the labor, the materials, and everything else, I think suffers from some severe problems of whether that could even be done. Even if you want to back it out, whether it's going to be, have to be put out to bid, by the time you work up the plans and specifications, put it out to bid, select a contractor, and do the construction, you're probably looking at least 2 to 2.5 years lead time. So if there's going to be anything considered for an artificial turf and lights, it's got to be done by July 1st, 2024. Which means if we back it up till you get it through the council and everything else that needs to be done, 2.5 years, you're mid-2021. Start that earlier, you're talking early 2021. This is either going to have to start or it's going nowhere.
Hey, I appreciate all the transparency. You guys, this is, shame on me for not getting involved earlier about my town.
And Mike, I achieved what I wanted to achieve tonight.
And I thank all, it sounds like everybody's been pretty fair. My last follow-up question, I didn't know until this meeting that even the grass fields, the Plan A, Plan B, where are our sports teams gonna play over the 1.5 to 4 years that these improvements are taking place?
As proposed now, and I'm not going to address what might be, as proposed now, 2A is going to get dug up. While they're playing on where 2A will be, we will have the rest of Black River, including 2B and everything else.
Okay.
So 2A gets sodded. By the time it's determined it can be played on, then we start on 2B and they're playing on 2A and the rest of Black River. Plus we have Chubb and we have the fields across the street.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, Karen, I'm sorry.
My question is for Mr. Drag, what is the status of the fundraising?
We have no commitments. I have no commitments from the board.
When Borough there hasn't raised any money?
I am 100% unaware of any money I have, that's the answer to that. I don't know. They haven't come to us with a plan.
And conversely, as a follow-up to what I just said, that's if there's a proposal to do the artificial turf. At some point, we're gonna have to look at, hey, we're digging up 2B. We may as well do 3 at the same time. Hey guys, are we or aren't we? Because we wanna get this done. So this is gonna come to a head in the next year, year and a half, whether these sports teams are even gonna do it. Yeah.
Was there any recommendations for this whole project out of the subcommittee? Or is it just like it goes back and forth?
We've never,
I mean, to me, the purpose of the subcommittee, or the planning board, is you're giving them a problem, and you want them to look into it and come up with recommendations.
So we made a presentation in 2018 about the highest and best use, which was.
So that was it?
That was it. That was 5 total fields, which you'll see the map of.
Okay, no, okay. So that was.
And our recommendation was the highest and best use was 1 artificial turf field with lights. But that has never gone beyond a suggestion from a subcommittee.
So to me, there's all the time, and I've been at some of the meetings where, the lights were debated. Really, it could have been shut down. I don't understand why it's been an issue.
We've never debated it on the council level. I've gone on the record during the public meeting saying that if there was to be turf and lights, it was to be fundraised by the sports team. That's as far as we
Why
can.
would a sports team fundraise it if the council isn't going to consider it?
Well, that's been the chicken and egg
So
problem.
why go through 2 years, or whatever your hard stop deadline is? Why not make a decision? Say, like, if I'm a sports team, I'm not gonna go out and fundraise and then come back to the council and say, well, I've got $250,000, can I have my order for
And the answer to that's no.
Yeah, I mean, that's.
Yeah, as I said before, you need 2.5 to 3 million roughly to put it in. You need another million to fund it, replace it.
So I don't understand why this is a continual issue. It should be a dead issue.
It's a continuing issue because if they came up with the money, then the council, I'm not on the council anymore, the council will have to consider it. However, as Brian just said, once we get to that second field, we're going to be doing that third field. If they don't have the money, it's going to be, as we said.
I'm sorry.
Let me put it, I'm sorry, just something
I agree with her. Put it to bed now. Exactly. You're either going to allow it and pursue it, or you're not. Because all you're doing is stirring up a whole lot of angst with the township, with the people.
Yes, I get that.
And you're gonna make the schools and the teams go running on a habit trail for something they may never
I don't
guess.
think it's going to be good.
And then stop.
Let's just take a step back. The reason it was talked about was because the initial proposal back in October included the turf and included lights, potentially for all the students. So that's why there was a discussion that ensued through the vote for the approval for 2A, when we said sod, no lights, and probably no lights on 2B either, they're too damn expensive, and we're not even talking about 3 yet, that's down the road. So at that point, the idea of turf and lights was still out there because it was still, yeah, this is what we want to do. I agree with you. I think, will these private sports teams be able to raise upwards of $3+ million? I don't think so. But I agree with you. Let's either move on or don't. But where we're at, we're not at a decision point that's
So how, as township residents, do we get the council and force the issue and get the council to make a decision and put that issue to rest so that people can relax a little bit? I mean, I don't live anywhere near the 100 fields.
I do.
But the traffic, I mean, I've got where I live, I've got 2 ways in the town. If that way gets blocked up, oh my God, you're like, there's just, that's it. So how do we force the issue with the council to make a
It's a
decision?
good question that I don't have a firm answer.
I have an answer.
When's the next
When
meeting?
Black River Fields appears on the agenda,
Every time it's on the agenda, it's closed.
that's actually, no, that's not correct. The discussions to purchase the field, Brian Moore, I was on the council, was taking place, those were closed. Our discussions on Black River Fields have been very public, and during open session, voted on in open session. I think Brian will concur with that.
Well, in fact, I have asked, I don't know if it's gonna make it on to the next meeting, but I have asked what the status is, because Tim did propose, let's consolidate 2A and 2B and build them both at the same time. We had no numbers, we hadn't even approved what was going into 2B, so we were supposed to have the engineer to talk about that. I'm gonna say June. It's just never happened. Last council meeting, I asked for that, what are we doing, what's the status? The indication was we would bring the engineer in to talk about that. That's where we're at.
So when's the next council?
I tell you
November
what,
14th.
can you give me your info? And when it hits the agenda, I promise you I will call you and email you every time.
How do we know when things have the agenda start? Well, how far in advance is an agenda published before the council?
The agendas are an ongoing sort point. The agendas generally come out on Friday,
Before what day?
before a Tuesday meeting. The agendas come out on Friday before a Tuesday meeting. They're emailed to the council and then posted late in the afternoon on the
Okay,
website.
and you post on yours, right? Just to
I
make sure.
try to post it fairly quickly after I get it. The problem is, what we've been running into on an ongoing basis is, the agenda is not the agenda. Because the agenda on Friday changes on Monday, changes on Tuesday. Sometimes it's changing as I'm walking into the council. That's an ongoing problem because things are popping up that are not on the agenda on Friday, that show up on Tuesday, and then we're expected to vote on it on the spot.
And what time is the township council meeting?
7 o'clock.
Who's but the taxpayers are basically going, once it's all done, whichever field we're talking about, who's paying for it? The taxpayers?
The taxpayers are paying for everything. The only thing that's up in the air right now is if there's artificial differences.
Well, okay, but the bottom line is, we're drawing, again, my baby's 26, so I haven't been in Black River Fields, you do the math. However, I have to say, my husband and I have always encouraged sports in this town. We also feel that every child is entitled to use these fields. So I don't want to hear the 18 gets to be on this team,
No.
and poor little kids that don't even,
No,
the
here's-
restroom,
here's the
can't
problem.
play on another field.
Brian?
No, I really, it is,
Here's the problem. 200,000 for phase 1, 800,000 why? Of that 800,000, I guess we're gonna get 400,000.
I'm talking about once it's all
All
done,
of this,
You're talking about maintenance.
maintenance, you're talking about who's paying for this
all of
all the time.
everything is coming on the backs of the township.
Okay, well, so
Even though it's being
no
used
matter,
as
all right, but no
right.
matter who we're talking to, and we're not picking negative sides here. We're talking like the man just left. We all moved into this town for a certain reason. It's small, it's a community, we like to keep it that way. But that also means that my husband and I, we're older, but I still give support with the school system. I still think we should take care of our kids. And these sports, sometimes I feel some kids are pushed aside. And to spend all this money on a soccer, I have no problem with that. But if we're gonna maintain it, then I think all our children, grandchildren hopefully, should be able to
You
use
can't
these
pick and
fields.
choose uses of those fields. They're available to every.
And that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I just want, because, my husband and I, we went through the phase where we're going on for practice, and we're told we can't, we gotta move
It's
because
illegal.
somebody was coming.
It's literally, it's illegal. You
Well,
can't-
back
Jimmy, I have one
then,
question.
I'll introduce myself. I'm Tom Drag. I've been sitting on the Chester Township Parks Committee, excuse my back, since 2013. I am affectionately known as the field scheduler. So, gentleman left behind me questioned about, has a study ever been done on utilization of all fields?
Yes, I keep the records of who has approval to use every field, including the barn, in Chester Township since 2013. All right? I've been challenged on multiple occasions on my data, and the response is always the same. No one else is keeping the data. Okay? To answer some of your questions about foreign bodies coming in, there is the ordinance, and the Chester Township Parks Committee holds that ordinance of who gets approval for access to fields and the barn. And it's an unprioritized state. Your children, sports teams get, well, actually Black River Middle School gets first dibs because of their state. Second level is the sports teams. Third level is pay for playing sports teams. That's for profit. And the last group is the adult groups. All right, so that's the priority they're given. If there's a conflict of schedules, I make that decision of who stays, who goes. All right, but your children do not get bumped out. What came up at this presentation in October was just a township is footing the bill for 4 towns. Okay, that can be a little bit of a raw subject. The reason being is the 4 towns, Mendham Township, Mendham Borough, Chester Township, Mendham Borough, is a rare entity in youth sports organizations. They share each other. All right, so your children play with other children from the other 3 towns. If you're in Randolph, that is such a large population, only essentially 90% of the Randolph kids play in Randolph. They get kids from outside, but they're self-entity. So, this has been a raw subject with Black River Field. All right, improvements needed, yes. However, remember now, you are paying for 3 other towns. All right, Mr. Drag has been put on record as stating he will go to the other 3 towns to see if they will pull me up. All right, so we'll see where that goes. Mr. Drag has also stated he represented the youth sports groups early on, and that he would actually reach out to the group of Lindenberry parents and homeowners to get their feedback. You have yet to do that for 18 months. You have made a proposal under your rules of engagement to meet with that group, but that meeting has yet to occur.
I've offered it, sir.
You have offered it under your rules of
He gave me my cell phone
engagement.
number to come and meet with me.
All right, so anyway, when you heard the number 17%, yes, that 17% represents from April 1st to November 1st of any calendar year, not the full 12 months. That's the high season, April 1st to November 1st.
What does that 17% mean?
That means it's used.
So it's hard to get
How much is it, how much of the time are the fields being used?
So it's hard
Yeah,
to
so the first count was, sometimes you can't say 24 hours, but that's, yes,
And we're
understood.
paying a lot
But
of money
from,
for parking.
from April 1st to November 1st, from 4 p.m. to sundown, all right, is the criteria.
No, wait, does that include through the night? You're counting that?
No, I don't even.
Just daylight hours.
Because
17%
I
of the
don't,
daylight
I
hours.
don't include 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. because all your children should be in school. But just to give you one last piece of data, just this year, 2019, the last youth group to use Black River ended in July 23rd. It wasn't 7 weeks before the next utilization on that park. All parks were dead of all approved organized activities for 7 straight weeks this summer. So that's how, if you have any other questions with the numbers, I'll be glad to talk.
I have one final question. On page 2 of the last CDP letter that came through, approvals, didn't it say that if any of the things that are not met on that page, it's null and void, and didn't it say that only local students are using the Black River Field?
That is
And
not,
if anybody else uses it, it's null and void.
that's actually not correct.
No?
And I don't have the letters on me, but it says the primary users were students in school. It didn't say Chester students in school, it didn't say Menlo, it said students.
Students in school.
And we, again, I've said this once, I'll say it again. Years ago, Chester Township took Green Acres money for a lot of their parks. Once you take Green Acres money, this council has not, I don't think the council prior has, once a municipality takes Green Acres money, you are barred, to prosecute this, you are barred from disallowing, if a sports group.
Forever?
Yes, perpetually. If a sports group wants to come in from Clinton and use these fields, they would have to see Mr. Grego and the rest of the parks committee. We cannot tell them no. 100%.
Anybody can come in anytime.
The barn, and that goes with Chuck Park, that's the barn. Every township park and building, and this was several houses ago.
As a practical matter, though, people can just show up and use the fields.
Yeah, well, you go there.
We don't need them, and we can't remove them because we can't remove them.
Yeah, good day.
Okay, that's.
Here's a question. I'm not sure if I'm speaking out of turn. We're talking about irrigation for these new fields. And I know those fields are in rough shape and, crowding them properly, et cetera, I think is appropriate. Are the fields that are there now, watered at all ever?
The game fields are, the fields on the left side are irrigated.
Yeah, the fields on the right that we're gonna fix are not.
They're currently not, that's correct.
Has anybody ever seen them around?
And only half the Chuck Park fields are
I
irrigated.
don't think you, again, I'm not an irrigation guy, but, I mean, as you saw the fields on the left this year, they were barely ever watered, because there's sensors and all sorts of stuff. The same would go on the other side, right, so they're only water leaking, you're not gonna see the sprinklers on the rain, sort of thing.
Right, but they're never brown now, so why would we need to irrigate? So that's my point.
Yeah, I mean, the sprinklers are never gonna go over, but, I mean, it's just my opinion. I think it would be foolhardy for us to spend money to make these fields nice and not provide a means to keep them in shape.
Well, I mean,
Yeah,
I worry about my well, that's all. But again, according to the DEP, if my well goes dry, then I have to recourse.
Speaking about irrigation, I was just thinking of a little while ago that I agree with Karen Powell that this whole thing seems to be being pushed through. I believe that before the much more goes on, as far as the planning stage goes, I think the town should hire a hydrogeologist, not Brian Welderling, and not our engineer, to make a decision on whether we have a big enough aquifer underneath that area that's not going to drain the people on Lindenberry Lane. Because we have, like, if in that area, if we put in 4 wells, putting in what is already there, the swimming pool and the school, that's a massive amount of water, more than if you were in a development being used. So I think some serious research should be put into that, because if people on Lindenberry all of a sudden have to have perfectly functioning wells, 3 or 4 years down the road, start having wells that have got a problem, are we gonna be liable for that, or are we just gonna write it off and say, oh, that's your problem, you have to put $15,000? You would think, but I'm not sure about that. You could say that in any area, and they were sucking the water out of our area like crazy, and they said that's your problem.
Jim?
Two things. Just want to clarify, you say Lindenberry Lane, the group consists of more people who have questions about this whole thing than just the people, those of us who live on Lindenberry Lane.
I'm talking about the water system, water problem.
There's people on North Road, there's people on South Road. I mean, it's a much bigger group than just 14, 18 houses on Lindenberry Lane.
Yeah, I
It's
agree
a
with
much
that.
bigger group. My second question gets away from water fields. It has to do with the town meetings, the town council meetings, the new format, which, in my opinion, sucks. Thanks. discussed at that particular council meeting, and there's been public comments at the end, to now you have to come ahead of time and guess what they're gonna discuss? Well, remember what they discussed 2 weeks ago, because the only public comment is at the beginning of the meeting, and you get 5 minutes, and the mayor makes it. Who said that the mayor is very open to talking to people? That's not what happens in a town meeting. She keeps an eye on Robin, who must have a stopwatch that says your 5 minutes is up, and she refuses to finish any conversation.
That was the reason, one of the reasons I wanted to do this thing.
Yeah. So,
There
I mean,
is
is there
not,
any way we can
certainly
come back
there's
to
not
you?
as much interaction.
No, and is there any way, you told people to go to a town council meeting to have a discussion, you can't discuss.
We would need to have the council vote to reopen, which I doubt is.
No, because they voted to close it.
Who wants to, go ahead.
Just a question, I've asked this before at town council meetings and stuff, I didn't realize we started at $400,000. I thought we were at, became involved with that 925, whatever, about that. And I've asked before, and now I'm gonna back it up to 400, how did we go from approximately $400,000 to $2.4 million? Is there a way to see how the engineer came up with that first number, how he came up with the next number, how he came up with the next, what got added on each time that increased that cost? And was it necessary steps to go from a $400,000 cost to a 2.4 million, or I know 2.4 is just an approximate number, but we're using that number right now, to that number? How can we
I
figure
will
out how
assure
we
you
went
this,
through that?
when we went through this process between January and March, and until I sat down and started looking at what was in the background of this, the application, there was some other communications with the DEP that raised my concerns, and how I've evolved since then. Questions will be asked. I am gonna need more than a summary spreadsheet that says this is the cost. At the time in March, my attitude toward Mr. Hansen was different, my attitude toward the project was different, my attitude toward a lot of things was different. There will be more detail to make me happy. I can guarantee you that.
So we should be able to see at some point how we progress from a $400,000 field renovation.
Well, that I don't think we're ever going to get. I think that was just pulled out of his ear, frankly, for $400,000. I don't know how he thought he was going to get this done for $400,000. Maybe he thought it had a different project scope in mind.
Even from 925.
Then at 925,
I think at one point did it say?
I don't know. And then 2.4, is 2.4 million overstated? Now I wonder about that. So, Mr. Hansen has a lot of explaining to do to me on a lot of things. I don't know if other council members share that same sentiment, but I know for me, Mr. Hansen is at the center of a lot of screw-ups here, and I need some answers.
Is there a way to?
Pardon?
But you're not allowed to talk to him.
Well, when he shows up in front of the council, I will be.
If he shows up, he didn't show up the last time, he was due to come and give a big
Right.
presentation, and the next thing you know, that wasn't happening. So I mean.
But if it's not Mr. Hansen, somebody's going to have to explain that to me.
But they haven't explained the building, these questions, they have not explained, they pay them, but they haven't explained answer the questions. So.
Is there a way to look at those costs and see if there's a way to scale it back?
That's
More
what I think is
reasonable costs.
We'll go Chris and then you'll be.
Well, I just wanted to thank Brian very much for putting this together. And Mr. Drag for showing up, he's the only member from the council who wants to thank you. And I studied all this stuff because I got engaged about 12 months ago when I started going to council meetings. I've been here for 20 years and I worked for most of that time, so I was kind of busy with other things. And I learned a lot of stuff tonight that I didn't know. And one of the things that disturbed me is the libertarian, and I'm not necessarily libertarian, but I have a little different perspective on things. This is a scam to me. We're scamming the DEP by saying that the school owns the property, so therefore we can do whatever we want because the school owns it, but really we own it, technically.
The DEP knows what's going on.
I realize that, but I mean, it's really not following the letter of the law, it's skirting it as much as possible, not crossing the line, but getting as close as possible. And at the end of the day, I think a lot of people express their concerns. Going to council meetings used to be somewhat interactive and used to be somewhat productive. Now with the discussion in the beginning, like there were a lot of things that came about with the shared rec director. And that decision, no one supported in the council meeting, but they ignored all the public comments and voted it down, and voted approved.
In closed doors.
Well, it doesn't, that was the negotiations part.
That was salary.
That was salary and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, Brian brought up in his discussion the fact that we're getting less hours and paying more money. That doesn't make any sense. But yet, we have people that saying this is a good deal for us, and it's not. Shared services should be a benefit to everybody. And that's why I think we all need to be going to more council meetings, put up with the things that are going on, because they don't like getting the feedback. As much as they say they're open, they're not as open as they pretend to be. The only way to do it is to keep pressure on them and make them accountable for what they do. And what's published on the websites, and Brian does a good job of trying to put things together, but it's very contradictory information. I tried to learn from it, and the whole Black River Field presentation, which is now 9 months old, is out of date in theory. The Glenora presentations are out of date in theory, but nothing's done to update it. We have, as a public, we just need to get more engaged. So again, thank you, Brian, for doing this. Thank you, Tim, for showing up, and thank everybody else for showing up. We all need
I went to the meeting, this young lady was here, and I was at the meeting, you were there, the town brought the expert in, that tested the both, and nobody was there, and that was a disgrace, an absolute disgrace. I don't know what you guys are doing about it, but it is proven that you guys are a waste.